nice, you know, I didn't really know him until I went to visit. Phoenix.
Commission meeting for Tuesday, February 18th, 2020. The time is 6 p.m. Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair John Dinan.
Here.
Vice Chair Steve Link.
Here.
Commissioner Mallory Finrich.
Here.
Commissioner Joan Stewart. Commissioner Natasha Basso.
Here.
And Commissioner Benjamin Rubin is our alternate, and he's in the audience, present. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Conflict of interest. Any planning commission member or staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Hearing none, move on to public comments. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person, and each person may speak once during this time. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. For record purposes, state your name and city of residence, and please make your comments directly to the Planning Commission Board. Do we have any public comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are to be acted upon by a single action of the Planning Commission Board unless otherwise requested by an individual planning commissioner for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. Does any commissioners have any problems with that? Okay, item 2.1, posting of the agenda. The agenda for the February 18th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting was posted on the City Community Center Bulletin Board, City Hall North and South Bulletin Boards, Post Office, City website, and emailed to the library on February 7th, 2020. Item 2.2, approval of the February 18th, 2020 agenda. Item 2.3, approval of the minutes of the December 17th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. Those minutes have been read by the individual commissioners and stand approved as submitted.
Move for approval.
I'm sorry?
Or is there a second?
I'll second that.
Chair Dinan.
Yes.
Vice Chair Link.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Commissioner Fenrich.
Yes.
And Commissioner Basso.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Item 3, Planning Commission procedures. Item 3.1, annual nomination and appointment of chair and vice chair per Planning Commission rules and procedures, and welcoming to new commissioners. Donna, would you care to take over?
There we go. Good evening, Chair. So
So the nomination and appointment of the chair and vice chair is a little unusual compared to other planning commissions. Our rules and regulations encourage the people who have not been a chair before or a vice chair to move up into that position. And the people who have done that position before kind of go back to the bottom of the list. So you get the new people learning as they come up, and the people who have chaired it, and we appreciate all that they've done, they kind of go back down to the bottom of the list of the 5. So I think we were a little bit odd this year because we've had some replacements, and so I think when Janet and I discussed it, the way that the rotation should probably occur is the person who's been newest but also on the longest should move into the chair position, which would be Mallory.
Right.
And so if there would be a nomination to her moving into the chair position at the next meeting, because at this meeting, after the meeting, we have some appeal hearings, and it was thought that our chair could help us through the appeal hearings since he's got the most experience in that. So this would be for the change to occur at our March 17th meeting, but we would discuss it and make those plans tonight.
Thank you, Donna.
Oh, that's right. And then vice chair, the person who has been here the longest moving up would be Joan. So if we could maybe entertain some nominations?
I would nominate Mallory for chairman effective with the March meeting, and also nominate Joan to be vice chair effective at the March meeting. Need a second?
I will second that.
Two.
So roll call, Chair Dynan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Link,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenrich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Basso.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Item 3.2 is presentation to outgoing commissioners. And I don't
Present?
There's no one here.
see any.
Here, I don't have anything.
Okay. We'll have to move that to the next meeting. I was on vacation this last week, so I haven't kind of, taken care of that. I apologize.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
Item 4, Planning Commission public hearings. Item 4.1, Development Agreement number 02-2019, River Run subdivision. Donna, would you like to describe this?
It's at the. Thank you. The what? Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so this is a development agreement for the River Run subdivision. Come on. Okay. Doesn't want to work here.
It just doesn't like you.
I don't think it likes me. I have problems at council meetings too. It's not just me. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, you can use the rolly thing.
Let me start from the beginning for you.
There, I think whoops, maybe not. Okay, you start it. Okay, sorry about the technical difficulties. as I mentioned, this is a development agreement for the River Run subdivision. And the project is a development agreement, and what this will do is extend the life of the tentative map. The project has already been, well, wrong way. There we go. This is so frustrating. Okay, so the project location is at Central in California. It's the northwest corner. And the project has already been approved in 2017 for a general plan amendment, a rezone, and a tentative map. So a tentative map is only good for 2 years per the state, unless there's some sort of an economic downturn and they allow for extensions. But basically, if you don't build in 2 years, you lose your tentative map. So this is a development agreement that's kind of pulling all the project together as far as the improvements and the conditions of approval, and it gets all put into a development agreement, and then that development agreement can extend the life of the map. Gosh dang it. Okay, here we go. Here's an existing aerial view of the project with an overlay of the tentative map on it. You can see at the bottom is California Avenue, and up the side, left side is Central Avenue. The current general plan designation is low-density residential, which allows 1 to 8 units per net acre, and I believe this project is 5.6 houses per net acre. The current zoning is planned development, which allows some relief from the strict interpretation of the R1 zoning standards. I went the other way. All right. The project has to be consistent with the city's general plan. The municipal code requires this. So there were several policies that the previous planning commission found this project to be consistent with, and that's how it got its approvals. One of them was design, that the city requires attractive streetscapes. Also, approved projects and plans shall provide for the collection of stormwater and sewer, and it treats it and offers detention and does not decrease water quality or alter the hydrology in the Stanislaus River. And then the city will encourage compact development to achieve efficient use of resources. Why is this going backwards? There we go. As you can see from this chart that was part of the original staff report, we compared the low-density zoning standards to the proposed plan development standards, and the ones with the asterisks, there was 3 of them that were found to be slightly different, modified, like 6,000 square feet for the low-density zoning, and then these lots will be 5,000 square feet. So for the 3 changes, there are some offerings from the developer as far as some picnic tables and benches and grills and such at the park basin, and some enhanced landscaping and some signage at the entrances of the development. So they offer these amenities in exchange for relief from some of these standards. Here is what the approved tentative map looks like. As you can see, it's mostly houses around a smaller, about 1 acre, 1 acre and a half park at the lower bottom of the page there. I go the exact same way and it just, I hate this. There we go. At the time this project was approved, they also had a design guideline manual. We don't expect these exact architectural drawings of future houses, but when the property is developed, the developer will come to the Planning Commission for architectural and site plan review. So we did the general plan change, we did the zoning change, we approved the map. The architecture has to be approved yet, but in the meantime, they would like to extend the map. Now, this isn't working at all. There it goes. There we go. Okay. In environmental, pursuant to CEQA, staff had prepared and the city council did approve when this project was approved, an initial study and mitigated negative declaration for the project. You should know that even though we are doing a development agreement, all the conditions of approval and all the mitigation measures will continue to apply for the duration of the development agreement. By going with a development agreement, it doesn't let them out of any of those obligations. Yay, I got to the end.
Thank you, Donna.
So, just to kind of pull it all together, because my presentation unfortunately was pretty disjointed there. So this is an approved project. You're looking at the development agreement only for the project. And if you have any questions, the project proponent is here tonight too. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners for staff?
Yeah, maybe I just missed it. The extensions for how long?
The extension would be, excuse me, for 5 years, and then if there are no issues with either from the city side or the developer side, it can be extended for another 10 years. Or, excuse me, 5 years. So 5, to make it 10.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll open it up for the public hearing. Does anyone from the public wish to make a comment on this proposal?
Mr. Commissioner, members of the Planning Commission, Carrie Pope from the River Run Project, just wanted to offer any help if there was any questions that you may have to answer those at this time. I see the wheels turning.
I'm wondering what is causing the delays? Is it bureaucracy, funding, or is it none of my business?
Certainly within your right to ask. Some of it is the market, even though the market's very good right now, but you know, we just seem to kind of be a little bit further out than what, you know, some of the folks that want to come this way want to come. So it's been a little bit frustrating because we thought that we would have much more of a demand, but I think that it's coming. I think the economy is, you know, it takes us a little bit longer to be able to react to some of these things here in the valley. So I mean, the Bay Area has been going strong for some time, but it just takes us a little bit longer. So
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Pope? Thank you, sir.
thank you very much.
Mary Alpers, 6200 Snedeker Road. I live 1 block from this subdivision. I'm just curious, maybe Mr. Lowe remembers, what were they doing with the OID easement? And there's a huge amount of drainage that goes through that property.
That was addressed, but perhaps Mr. Pope would like to reply to that question. When I say it was addressed in the package that the commission received, but it's a good question.
It is a good question, and it's been a problem on the east side for some time. And it's kind of interesting that you brought that up because we took an extra step, as Donna can attest, to try to address and actually what it is it's tailwater. It's tailwater coming from OIDs, customers and clients further to the east that don't manage their water is really what it is. And if they don't manage their water, then that area is going to be flooded. The other issue that we've had is at the corner of California and Central, that connection to the Riverbank drain has been crushed for a long time. And so that all is going to be fixed. And we also have proposed to try and get a jump on some of the other east side drainage, which is a problem not just here but elsewhere to the east. We proposed a much larger pipeline that would go up to Snedeker and try and capture some of that water. Bill Cole, the city engineer, is still working on that to see if that's going to work, but if it is, well, we're prepared to do that as well. So it has been a problem, and we've tried to address it, but unfortunately, it's kind of like somebody leaving the spigot on. I mean, if you just leave it on, something's going to flood. And what ends up happening is OID will not, and I kind of throwing them under the bus here when they're not here, but you know, the fact of the matter is that they don't address it when their customers do not turn the water off. And so it ends up flooding, and so that's where the issue has come from mainly. So, but we have gone the extra step with our engineers to try and address it. So,
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 4.1.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Who was the second?
Joan?
Okay. Okay. Chair Dinan
Yes.
and Vice Chair Link,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Basso.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 5-0.
Thank you, Janet. Item 4.2, architecture and site plan review number 01-2019, McDonald's. Donna, will you be addressing that, or Gabrielle? I see you coming to the podium.
Yes, tonight, Associate Planner Gabrielle Salazar will be handling this item.
Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commission and public. Yes, so McDonald's Corporation, Core States Group on behalf of McDonald's Corporation, located at 6411 Oakdale Road, is requesting architectural and site plan review for an interior remodel to add 760 square feet for storage space, to relocate an existing trash enclosure, to expand an existing single drive-through lane to double side-by-side drive-through lanes. This is an aerial of the site. The subject property is located on the northwest corner of Patterson Road and Oakdale Road. And then there's the aerial map showing, again, the location of the site on the northwest corner of Patterson and Oakdale. It's about 0.7 acres, the lot size. And this is a partial floor plan. This is kind of the northeast portion of the existing McDonald's restaurant. On the left-hand side is where, on the north left-hand side is where they're gonna have extra freezer and storage space. And then in the middle, you could see a little bit of the remodel for the restrooms. And this is the site plan of the property. And this picture shows, gives you a better idea of the new two drive-through lanes. On the north side of the property, you see the expansion of the drive-through lanes. there was some, staff did request that the applicant commission a traffic study report for this to make sure that there was no issues or new challenges created with this new proposal based on our consultant's report. They recommended that they didn't foresee any issues with it. They actually believed, and then they studied the trip generation, queuing on the property, traffic flow on the site, and they indicated in the report that with the new drive-through lanes, they foresaw that this would alleviate some of the traffic congestion there on the McDonald's property. The general plan designation for the property is CC, Community Commercial. And the zoning designation is C2, General Commercial. This is the frontage of the existing McDonald's. This is the east elevation of the existing McDonald's, and then there on the bottom right, you see the existing drive-through lane. Basically show just these pictures because these are kind of the major changes to the property. You're going to impact the side, the east elevation, and the north as you're looking from the street. So essentially, they're going to pop out some of that building space, and they're going to relocate that traffic enclosure towards the middle of the parking lot. This is the new proposed elevations for the property. On the top left-hand side is the front elevation. On the bottom is a non-drive-through lane, drive-through side elevation. That bottom right portion, that building that's sticking out, that's kind of like the new portion of the with the addition. And then the architecture is supposed to match the existing McDonald's with the metal aluminum canopies, similar stucco finish and color. We'll make sure that, or the applicant is ensuring that it's going to be consistent and uniform. For general plan consistency, policy design 8.3 of the general plan basically indicates that it's going to be high quality material. Another policy design 10.1 ensures pedestrian and AD accessibility with the new increase in footprint to the building. Staff made sure and the applicant made sure there's going to be ADA accessible for visitors to the restaurant. And then policy design 3.1 indicates in the general plan that a priority of the city is business retention. Us working with the applicant here is indicating and showing that we want to maintain existing businesses and retain them here in Riverbank. And then per CEQA, the proposed project will not have a significant effect on the environment and is categorically exempt under Article 19, Section 15332 A through E, Class 32 infill development projects. For public comment, there was an email that was sent. I think that's in front of you if you have any questions. And then I believe the applicant is also here to answer any questions as well, along with staff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Gabrielle. I've got some real concerns with this project. I have a question. I understand they plan on relocating the handicap parking spaces that currently exist. Where will they be relocated to?
So there you see in the driveway layout, the ADA parking is going to be in the middle of the property. And then there's also a path of travel for the trash enclosure as well. There's a path of travel as well for the ADA visitors.
Go through that again, Gabrielle. The
So on the-
ADA is going to be in the middle of the existing parking lot?
Exactly, yeah, right here. That's the ADA parking area, and we work with the city engineer to make sure there was a safe path of travel.
So what is that? Is that a crosswalk?
Right there, exactly, kind of like a crosswalk, safe path of travel for visitors.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners?
So there's no parking right up against the building like there is currently, right up to the sidewalk? There's no parking spots there where someone would have the nose of their car facing the building?
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
eliminated?
Pretty much that parking in those three, I think 4 parking spaces are eliminated.
And that's where handicap is currently, I believe.
Exactly.
So it loses 3 or 4?
Let me see that breakdown.
I believe there's 3 at the present time.
Okay.
If my memory serves correct, I believe it was 3.
Okay.
Let me just make sure.
And they will replace that with the same amount.
Well, with the new proposal, there will be a reduction in the parking spaces.
Well, I mean, for the handicap spaces, it'll
Or
still be
it'll be
3.
the same. It'll be the same number of ADA handicap parking spaces. But overall, there will be some parking spaces that are lost. You know, with the.
I noticed,
increase.
yeah, a discrepancy between the staff report and the consultant's report as to how many were going to be left when it's all set.
Right.
I believe it's 28 in your report.
Right. So I went to the property to count the number of parking spaces. I think the consultant had, I believe 38. And I think once I went to go check out the property, there was 37 parking spaces on the property.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And I know it's a concern to lose a few parking spaces, but I drive by this McDonald's multiple times a day, every day, all times of the day. And it really is a big issue, the stacking of the drive-through. It's onto Oakdale Road pretty much constantly. So, I mean, that's a big concern. So I see this as a good thing, to have a double driveway lane to kind of to reduce that spillover. So, yeah, as much as losing on-site parking is an issue, spilling over onto the road, onto Oakdale Road, is a big problem too, that I think this will alleviate. So,
Any more comments or questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'll open up the public hearing on this matter. Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Hearing none, close the public hearing.
Thank you.
My concern is with the reduction in parking spaces, the relocation of the handicap spaces where handicapped folks will have to cross open space where it is now, as Steve pointed out, they're right up against the sidewalk and right next to the entrance to the McDonald's. And also in the consultant's report, they were very iffy with their recommendation. And one of the things they brought up was there's no designated spot for loading trucks. The commission should be aware of that. So that at present, there is not a designated spot as well. I mean, when those big trucks come in, they just block off half the well, not half the parking lot, I'm exaggerating. But it is an issue that I'm concerned about. Anyone else care to make any comments before we call for a vote or a motion?
I just think the trend seems to be more people not getting out of their cars to go to a restaurant. Even that would benefit handicapped people to do the same, to use the drive-through and be streamlined. So it looks like they're just modifying this to go with the trend that they're seeing with their own business.
Hey, Janet, will we have could we have a motion?
Move
Here-
for approval of Resolution 2020-002.
I have a second.
I second.
Janet, please.
Okay, Chair Dinan?
Taking into account the input from my fellow commissioners, I vote yes.
Okay. Vice Chair Link,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenrich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Basso.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 5-0.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Item 4.3, and if you have agendas, you'll notice that it says that at the time this agenda was due to be published, negotiations were still ongoing. So the commission will, or I will entertain a motion to table this until our next meeting. However, it is a public issue, and it was classified as a public hearing in the paper, so I will open it up. Well, first I'll ask the commissioners if they have any comments or questions prior to a public hearing. Hearing none, I'll open this up for a public hearing. Anyone from the public have any comments to make on this issue? This is the cannery project.
Due to the fact,
Would you, excuse me,
sorry,
would you please state your name and city of residence?
my name's Evelyn, I lived downtown for over 50 years.
Thank you.
Due to the fact that this is supposed to be a public hearing regarding approval of the development agreement and the conditional use permit, which neither one exists. I have asked twice for documents. There are no documents at all out there. There's nothing in the agenda. There's no staff report. There's no nothing. The only thing I have gotten, I went downtown and asked for, and that was a map of the 4 properties in this thing. And from that, and the APN numbers, one of them is like a 27, 28 acre center of the property. One of them, the APN number doesn't exist when you put it to the assessor's office stuff. It doesn't come up. The other 2 are not even attached to the property itself. One of them is on the east side on Condrey. It opens out only onto Condrey, which puts it into our residential neighborhood. It's totally surrounded by the city, the 108, and the railroad. The other one is a vacant lot in our residential neighborhood. It's zoned R2, but they want these properties part of this project also. Notifications only came out for 300 feet, and I don't know what property border they used. They weren't in Spanish, and there's a lot of Spanish speaking in that neighborhood. I would really encourage you guys to cancel it and bring it back re-noticed so that it can be properly noticed to everybody, and give you guys a chance to go down there and actually look, if you can find out where this 4th property is, actually look at what they're actually including in this, because we're not getting any information at all.
One of the reasons, Evelyn, that's why we are going to table this until the next meeting.
But re-notice it, so that everybody gets noticed, because they're not noticing any, nobody's getting noticed down there, and a lot of them don't speak English.
I would request staff note that request. Any other public comments on this issue? I hate when that happens.
We gotta get that hip replaced.
Been there.
Mr. Commissioner, Commissioners, I'm Duke Leffler. I'm with the PMZ Commercial Real Estate in Modesto, and I am here as an agent for the owners, the Sun Garden Ganji LLC partnership, which is the Ganji family and the DiNapoli families. And we've been working with them on marketing the property for, going on 4 consecutive years now. We've been down the road a couple times as it relates to these particular uses and so forth for this property. And this is the first time we've actually made it to the point where we can have a continued meeting, because up until this time we haven't had anyone who has put forth the effort and the expense to bring the project before the city government and citizens in the Riverbank community. So the owners are they're very excited about it. The party that is in contract on the property with the development project at hand, is very excited about it, and everyone thinks that it would be a good project for the city and benefit the city tremendously with jobs and economic prosperity as a result of the sales and so forth. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Any question? Well, we're still in a public comment period, so,
Got it, okay. All right, that's all I've got, thank you.
thank you, sir. Any other public comments on this matter? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commission and close the public hearing. Any more comments or questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to table this matter until the next public commission, the
I'll
next
second
planning
that.
commission meeting. We need a motion. I'm requesting a motion.
So I will make a motion to table this until the March meeting,
March 17th.
March 17th.
I will second.
Okay. Chair Dinan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Link,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Fenwich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasso.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on to item 5, Planning Commission comments. Do we have any comments from the Planning Commission? Hearing none. Item 6, County referrals / correspondence / information. Having none, we'll move to item 7, staff comments.
At the City Council meeting of January 28th, the council approved prohibition on the outdoor growing of industrial hemp. And then I wasn't at the City Council meeting of February 11th, but the city manager presented my 2 items, which were the annual development agreement reviews of Flavors and the Riverbank Cannabis Collective. And both of those items were presented to the City Council and is accepted as being consistent with their development agreements. Thank you.
Just a personal note before I adjourn. It's been my honor to serve as chairman of this commission, and I thank all of you for your support and the staff for the invaluable help you've given me. Call this meeting adjourned. We will have a appeals board hearing. I'm going to call for a 5-minute recess, and Norman's got some mechanical, electronic goodies that she's got to do, and the restrooms are around the corner if anyone